The planet Kandar 5 was harsh and unforgiving. Endless deserts stretched beyond the horizon. Sandstorms could arrive without warning, swallowing everything in blinding clouds of dust. Yet hidden in a small rocky valley, there was a modest home. It was here that Princess Jira had lived for many years. Hiding from a world that thought she was dead, inside the small house, the air was warm and quiet. A small fire flickered in the center of the room. Gira sat beside it, her silver blue, skin glowing softly in the firelight. Her sharp eyes watched their young daughter Mira as she played with a wooden toy. Mira's face was a perfect mix of human and Zilari features, her eyes bright and curious, her hair dark and soft. The little girl was unaware of the weight her family carried. To her, this home was all she knew. But for Jira and Elias, every day was a careful balance of hiding and hoping. "Look, Mira," Jira said, picking up a small carved animal from the table. "This is a Zilari stag. They live on my home planet." Mira's eyes widened. "Can we see stags one day, Mama?" Jira smiled sadly. "Maybe one day." Just then the door opened and Elias stepped inside. His tall, strong figure filled the doorway. His face was kind but marked with the hard lines of a soldier who had seen many battles. His dark eyes softened when he saw Mira. "How was your day, little one?" Elias asked, kneeling to her level. "Good," Mira said excitedly. "Mama told me stories about the stags." Elias chuckled. "That sounds wonderful." Jira stood and walked over to Elias. She took his hand gently. "They found us." Elias nodded, his face serious. "The scout from Gilaris, they're coming here." Jira's heart beat faster. After so many years, the past was finally catching up with them. Outside, the twin suns of Kandar 5 began to set, casting long shadows over the desert. The air cooled, but the tension in the small home grew. Jira knew the moment of truth was near. That night, she sat with Elias and Mira under the dim glow of a single lamp. "We can't stay here any longer," Jira said quietly. "They will find us soon, and it won't be safe." Elias nodded. "I agree. It's time to face them. Time to return to your people." Jira's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know if they will accept me or you, especially not Mira." Elias squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than you know. We'll face whatever comes together." Mira looked up at them, sensing the seriousness in their voices. "Mama, will I see Grandma again?" Jira smiled through her tears. "I hope so, Mira. We will try." The next day, a small Zilari scout ship landed near their home. Soldiers in polished armor stepped out, led by Commander Rillan, a stern woman known for her loyalty to the Queen. Rillan approached the house with cautious respect. She was surprised to find the princess alive and well. Living with a human man and a half-Solari child? "Princess Jira," Rylan said formally, "the Queen requests your return to Gilaris." Jira stepped forward, her voice steady.
"I will
go, but I ask that you allow Elias and Mira to come with me. They are my family." Rillan hesitated, but then nodded. "I'll relay your request. But be warned, the court may not welcome a human so close to the royal line." Shara nodded, knowing the truth of those words all too well. As they boarded the ship, Mira clung to her mother's hand. She looked out at the desert one last time, feeling both fear and excitement. The journey to Gilaris was long and filled with quiet moments. Elias watched the young girl, thinking about the life ahead for their family. "You're brave, Mira," he said softly. "Braver than most adults I know." Mira smiled. "I want to be like Mama." Jarell looked at her daughter with pride. "Oh, you already are." When the ship landed on Gilaris, the landscape was very different from Kandar 5. The world was greener, with tall trees and clear rivers. But the city was not as welcoming. They were met by royal guards who escorted them to the palace. The halls were grand and full of history, but also full of whispers. Jira noticed the cold stares and quiet conversations among the courtiers. Many were shocked and angry at her return, especially with a human by her side. Queen Varaya awaited them in the great hall. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of joy and sorrow as she embraced her daughter. "My Jira," the queen whispered. I thought you were lost forever. Jera's voice trembled. I am here, mother, with my family. The eye. Queen turned her gaze to Elias and Mira, her expression unreadable. Over the next days, Shara was introduced to the royal court. Some members welcomed her warmly, while others whispered doubts. The most difficult were the traditionalists, those who believed in pure Zelari blood and saw humans as enemies. One council member, Lord Cress, made no effort to hide his dislike. A human near the throne. This is disgraceful, he said loudly during a meeting. Our people suffered because of humans? How can we trust this man or the child? Jera met his gaze calmly. Mira is my daughter. She is part of both worlds. She is not a threat, but a hope. Elias stood silently beside her, showing no fear. Mira's presence became a symbol of change. She was curious and bright, learning quickly about Zelari customs, but also bringing human kindness to the palace. She had a special gift, the ability to sense emotions and calm others. This made some uneasy, but also showed the power of unity. 1 day, Mira walked through the palace gardens with her mother and Elias. Do you think Grandma will accept me? She asked softly. Jera smiled and held her hand. Your grandmother loves you. It will take time, but she will. Despite the challenges, Jera found strength in the love of her family. She began to speak openly to the court about peace between humans and Zelari. Elias shared stories of the war, not just battles, but acts of kindness from both sides. Slowly, some hearts began to change. Yet not everyone was willing to accept this new future. One night, as the palace slept, Jera stood by a window. Looking at the stars, Elias joined her quietly. Do you regret coming back? He asked. Jera shook her head. No, it is time to face the past, for our daughter's future. Suddenly, a shadow moved outside the window. Yara's sharp senses alerted her. We are not alone, she whispered. They hurried to find the palace. Guards. Something was coming, something that wanted to tear their family apart. The great city of Galeris glittered beneath twin moons as the royal shuttle touched down in the palace courtyard. Its sleek lines and shining surfaces reflected the advanced technology of the Zelari Empire, yet beneath the polished beauty, tension simmered like a storm waiting to break. Princess Jera stepped out first, her posture proud but wary. The years in exile had changed. Her eyes now held the wisdom and sadness of someone who had seen too much. Beside her, Elias Ward, the human who had stood by her through war and hiding, walked quietly but confidently. At their side was Mira, their daughter, her eyes shining with the mixture of two worlds. They were home, inside the palace. The grand halls were filled with soft murmurs. Courtiers, nobles, and advisors gathered in the main chamber, waiting for the reunion that would shake the empire. Queen Viera stood at the center, her regal form unyielding, but her face softening when she saw her daughter. The air was thick with emotion as mother and daughter embraced. My daughter, the queen whispered, you have returned. Against all odds, Jera smiled faintly. I am here, mother, and I have brought my family. The queen's gaze shifted to Elias, and then to Mira. The room held its breath. The human man and the half-Zelari child stood silently, waiting for acceptance or rejection. After the ceremony, Jera was taken to her former chambers. The room had not changed much, but it felt strange now. So much time had passed, and so much had happened. Elias set down their belongings and looked around carefully. They have prepared well, but I sense the court's eyes on us like knives. Jera nodded. Yes, we are not all welcomed here. Mira, meanwhile, explored quietly, touching the smooth walls and looking out the window at the gardens. Her hybrid nature made her special, and some in the court saw that as dangerous. The next day, Jera and Elias attended a council meeting with the Empire's highest leaders. The chamber was large and filled with important figures in traditional Zelari robes. The queen presided with calm authority. She introduced her daughter and Elias, explaining their story briefly. Many listened with interest. Some were moved by the story of survival and love, but others were cold. Lord Crest, powerful council member, stood and spoke with sharp words. Princess returning with a human, this challenges everything we believe. Our people fought to keep the Zellery pure and free from human influence. He turned to Elias. How do you defend yourself? Do you prove your loyalty to the Empire? Elias stood tall and answered steadily. I fought beside your people. During the war, I saved Zellery lives when I could. I risked everything to protect Jira. My loyalty is to peace and justice. Some in the room murmured approval, but others remained silent, their eyes hard. Jira watched carefully. She knew the battle for acceptance was just beginning. After the meeting, she walked through the palace gardens with her mother. Mother, she said softly, there are those who will never accept Elias or Mira. They see us as threats. Queen. Vera looked out at the stars. Change is never easy. But if we do not try, our empire will remain trapped in old fears. Jira nodded. Mira is the future. She carries both our worlds in her. The queen smiled, a small but hopeful curve of her lips. Days passed, and Mira began to meet other children of the empire. Some were curious, others wary. But Mira's gentle nature soon won many over. She had abilities unlike any seen before. Quiet power that could calm anger and heal small wounds. It was clear she was special. At a school in the palace, Mira sat beside a young Zellery girl named Lyra. Your eyes glow, Lyra whispered, fascinated. How can you do that? Mira smiled. Shyly, I think I can feel what others feel. Lyra nodded slowly. That is a gift. Meanwhile, in the darker halls of the palace, enemies plotted. A shadowy figure moved through secret corridors, General Corin, a man who had risen to power during the war. He had made his fortune from chaos and had no love for the princess or the human she brought with her. Corin whispered to his followers. This family is a threat. Their unity weakens the Empire's strength. We will remove them before they weaken us further. His voice was cold and certain. The storm was coming. Queen Viera sensed the danger, but did not show it openly. She met with her advisors, planning how to protect her daughter and the fragile peace she hoped to build. We cannot allow fear to rule, the queen said firmly. We must stand united. Jira and Elias trained with the palace guards, preparing for any attack. Their bond grew stronger as they faced this new challenge together. One evening, Myra sat quietly with her mother. Do you think they will like me here? Mira asked. Jira hugged her close. Some will, some won't. But your heart is strong. That is what matters. A sudden alarm echoed through the palace one night. Guards rushed through the halls, weapons ready. Jira and Elias grabbed Mira's hand and moved quickly to the secure chambers. Outside, shadows clashed with the palace guards. The coup had begun. General Corin and his followers tried to seize control, claiming they were protecting the empire from corruption. Jera stepped forward, her voice clear and commanding. This family is your true future, not fear. Elias fought bravely beside her, defending Mira and the queen. In the heat of battle, Mira's powers surged. She reached out with her mind, calming the attackers' anger and confusion. Some guards lowered their weapons. Stunned by the child's gift, the coup failed. But the threat remained. The empire was divided, but Jera's return had sparked hope. The people saw that peace between humans and Zellery was possible. Queen Vera declared Mira a symbol of unity. A new hope for the future. In the final moments of the conflict, the queen stood beside her daughter and granddaughter. We will face the future together, she said. Stronger, united. Jira looked at her family, her heart full. They had returned home. But their greatest journey was just beginning. The empire, once torn by war, now had a chance to heal. And this family born from love and courage would lead the way. The palace of Galeris was alive with tension. Bright banners hung from the walls, but beneath the surface, A storm was growing. The return of Princess Jira and her human companion Elias had changed everything, and not everyone was pleased. Queen Virea sat in her private chambers, surrounded by trusted advisors. Her face was calm, but her eyes revealed worry. She knew the peace they sought was fragile. "Your Majesty," one advisor said quietly, "there are whispers among the council. Some believe Elias and the child, Mira, threaten the purity of our line." The queen nodded slowly. "We must show them the strength of family. Mira is not a threat. She is the future." Outside in the palace gardens, Mira played among the flowers. Her laughter was like music, light and joyful. But she knew her family faced enemies she could not yet understand. Jera watched her daughter, feeling a fierce protectiveness. She knelt beside Mira and took her hand. "You are special, Mira," Jera said softly, "stronger than most. But strength means nothing without courage." Myra looked up. "I want to help, Mama." Jera smiled. "One day you will. But first you must learn." At the Royal Council, Lord Crest again voiced his opposition. "We cannot let a human and a hybrid influence our decisions," he said, his voice sharp. "Our traditions must be preserved." Jera stood calmly. "Traditions are important, but so is survival. The galaxy is changing. Our people must change with it." Elias stepped forward. "I am not here to weaken the Zelari Empire. I fought for it. I believe in a future where humans and Zelari live together in peace." Some council members murmured in agreement, but Crest's followers were loud. One night, Mira experienced something new. She was alone in the gardens when she felt a sudden rush of energy. Her eyes glowed softly, and she reached out with her mind. To her surprise, she touched the feelings of nearby guards. They were tense and fearful, worried about the growing unrest. Myra focused and sent calm waves through their minds. Slowly, the guards relaxed and smiled. It was the first time she used her powers openly, and it filled her with hope. But not everyone welcomed Mira's gifts in the shadows. General Corrin plotted. His anger at the Queen and Jera's family had not faded. He met with conspirators in a secret room beneath the palace. "We must strike before Mira grows stronger," he said. "Her powers will unite the people against us." His followers nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Queen Virea took steps to unite her people. She held a grand ceremony in the palace courtyard. Jira and Elias stood beside her as Mira was introduced. To the citizens, the crowd was large and mixed. Some cheered. Others watched silently. The queen spoke with passion. "This child represents hope and strength. She is the blood of two worlds. We must embrace this union if we are to survive and thrive." Her words touched many hearts. In the days that followed, Jira challenged the council to accept her family. She spoke to nobles and commoners alike. Sharing stories of war and peace, Elias worked quietly behind the scenes, gaining respect for his bravery and wisdom. Slowly, the tide began to turn. But danger lurked. One evening, as the palace slept, Corrin and his followers launched an attack. They struck at Elias. Hoping to remove the human influence, Jira and Elias fought side by side to protect Mira and the Queen. Mira, using her powers, created a shield of energy that protected them. The attackers were driven back. But the battle had only just begun. After the attack, Queen Virea called a meeting with the council. She declared, "This family is the future of the Zelari Empire. We will stand united or fall divided." Her words were met with a mix of applause and silence. Jira and Elias looked at each other, knowing their fight was far from over. In a quiet moment, Jira spoke to Mira. "You have the power to change this world," she said. Mira smiled. "Want to help everyone, Jira?" Hugged her tightly. "And you will, together." The palace of Galeris was unusually quiet as the first light of dawn crept through the tall windows. The tension in the air was thick. Everyone knew something important was about to happen. Queen Vera stood in the grand hall, surrounded by her closest advisors and guards. Her expression was firm, Yet there was a softness in her eyes when she looked toward the side where Jira, Elias, and little Mira waited. This day would change everything. For years, the palace had been divided. Some embraced the hope that Mira represented the joining of human and Zelari blood, while others feared it, believing it threatened their ancient traditions now. The final challenge was before them. The great hall filled quickly with nobles, generals, and citizens from across the empire. Everyone had heard the rumors of a coming coup, and many came to witness the moment when the queen would decide the fate of her family. Her Empire ZH era stood tall beside her mother. Her silver-blue skin gleamed softly in the morning light. Elias held Mira close, feeling the quiet strength of his daughter. Suddenly, the doors to the hall burst open. Armed guards stormed in, led by General Corin, the man who had tried to seize power before. His voice echoed harshly. "This child is a threat to our people. The blood of a human and an alien must never mix." Corin's followers spread through the hall, weapons drawn, ready to force their will. The crowd gasped. Many looked frightened. Some whispered prayers. Queen Varia raised her hand, calling for silence. "Corin," she said calmly, "you have made your choice. But the future does not belong to those who cling to fear." Jira stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. "My daughter is the hope of two worlds. Mira carries the blood of the Zelari and the courage of humanity. She is not a threat. Is our future." Corin sneered. "Your words are lies. I will not stand for this corruption." He lunged toward Elias, intent on striking the human. But Elias was ready. With quick reflexes born of years in battle, he blocked the attack and pushed Corin back. The hall erupted into chaos. Guards loyal to the queen moved to defend her family. Clashing with Corin's followers, Mira stepped forward, her eyes glowing. With a bright light, she raised her hands, and a wave of energy pulsed out, creating a shield that protected everyone around her. The attackers faltered, confused and overwhelmed by the unexpected power. Queen Vera took advantage of the moment. Guards, detain the traitors. Soldiers moved swiftly, capturing Corin and his followers before they could regroup. The coup was over. As the dust settled, the queen turned to the crowd. "Let this be a lesson," she said, her voice strong. "Fear divides us. Love and unity make us strong." Jira hugged Mira tightly, proud of her daughter's courage and strength. Elias smiled, knowing their family had survived the greatest test. In the days that followed, the peace slowly returned to the palace. The queen made a bold announcement. Mira would be named heir to the throne, symbolizing a new age of cooperation between humans and Zelari. Many cheered. Some remained silent, but no one dared oppose the queen openly. Mira's life changed. She learned the ways of the Zelari and the humans, growing wise beyond her years. She trained with the best warriors and studied with the brightest minds. Her powers continued to grow, but she remained humble and kind. Jera and Elias watched their daughter with pride. They had fought for a future where their family could live openly, without fear, and now that future was becoming real. One afternoon, the queen and Jira walked through the palace gardens. The air was warm, and the flowers bloomed brightly. "Your daughter has changed this empire," the queen said softly. Jira smiled. "She is the promise of peace." The queen nodded. "And you, both of you, have shown us the true meaning of courage and love." As the sun set, Myra played with children from both species, laughing and sharing stories. The walls that once divided were beginning to crumble. A new era had dawned. The war was over. But the story of Jira, Elias, Mira, and Queen Varia was just beginning. Together, they would build a future where two worlds became one. The cold wind swept across the vast fields of Gilaris. Long rows of white stones marked the resting places of thousands of Zelari warriors. Each stone held the name of a brave soul who had fought and died in the terrible war against the humans. The war had ended 5 years ago, but the pain still lingered deeply in the heart of Queen Viraya. She stood alone by the largest monument. A tall spire made of shining crystal. The monument shone bright in the pale sunlight, casting soft rainbows. Across the quiet field, The queen's face was calm but heavy with sadness. Her eyes stared at the names carved into the stones, searching for one that she could not forget. Her daughter's name, Princess Jera. For years, the queen had held hope that her daughter might still be alive. But every time she asked about Gira, the answer was the same. She died in the final battle. The final battle had been fierce and sudden. Gira was last seen leading a squad to protect the civilians during the war's last hours, but her body was never found. The queen closed her eyes, remembering the little girl who had once run through the palace halls with laughter and light in her eyes. Jera was strong and brave, like her mother. The queen knew her daughter had never given up fighting, even when things seemed hopeless. Behind the memorial fields, the palace towers rose high into the sky. It was the heart of the Zelari Empire, a place filled with power and tradition. The people looked to Queen Viera for guidance, but even she struggled with the weight of her loss. She missed her daughter deeply. "Your Majesty," a voice broke. The silence. A young royal guard stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "We have received a message from the outer colonies." The queen opened her eyes and turned to the guard. "What is it?" The guard hesitated before handing her a small data crystal. "A trader named Kellner reports seeing a Zelari woman alive outside the Empire. She was with a human man and a child." The queen's heart skipped a beat. She took the crystal and activated it. A hologram flickered to life, showing a dusty market on a remote planet. The trader's voice echoed softly, "I swear, Your Majesty, this woman looks just like your daughter. She wears the royal markings, but she is not with our people. And that man with her, he is human. They look like a family." Queen Virea's hands trembled. Could it be? Had her daughter truly survived? The years of sorrow and doubt suddenly felt like they might be replaced with hope. "Prepare a ship," the queen ordered, her voice steady but urgent. "I will go myself to find out the truth." Far from Galeris, on a dusty desert world called Candor 5, the rumored family lived quietly. The planet was harsh and unforgiving. Sandstorms could blind travelers, and water was scarce. But this, a remote place, was perfect for hiding. Commander Elias Ward wiped sweat from his brow as he repaired a broken solar panel outside their small home. He was a human soldier who had fought in the war and survived many battles. But the war was over now, and all he wanted was peace. Inside the home, Jura sat by a small fire, watching their young daughter, Mira, play with a simple wooden toy. Mira was curious and lively, with bright eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She was the perfect mix of human and Zelari. Jira smiled softly, though her thoughts were heavy. She had lived in hiding for years, always afraid the war's ghosts would find her. She had left her royal life behind, pretending to be dead so her enemies would stop hunting her. But now, with rumors spreading, the safety of her small family was at risk. "Elias," she called gently, "do you think they will come for us?" Elias stood and wiped his hands on his pants. "If they do, we'll be ready. I won't let anything happen to you or Mira." Jera's eyes filled with tears. "I want to go home, Elias, but I don't know if the Empire will accept us. Or our daughter." Elias stepped closer and took her hand. "We've faced worse together. We'll face this too." At that moment, a loud noise outside caught their attention. Sand kicked up in the distance as a ship landed nearby. A scout from the Zelari Empire had found them. Queen Virea's ship descended from the stars, its engines humming softly. The queen stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the horizon of Candor 5. She felt a mixture of hope, fear, and determination. When they landed, she was greeted by a group of soldiers. They escorted her to the small settlement where the trader said the woman and her family lived. The queen's heart pounded as she saw the figure approaching in the distance, a woman with silver-blue skin, tall and proud, with the same royal markings Jira had once worn. "Mother," the woman said softly as she stepped closer. Queen Vera's eyes filled with tears. "ZH era. You are alive." Behind Jira, a tall human man and a small girl watched quietly. The queen looked at the human with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Who is this?" she asked. "This is Elias Ward," Shara replied. "We saved my life during the war, and he has been my family ever since." "And this is Mira," Jira continued, kneeling to the child's level. "Our daughter." The queen studied Mira carefully. The child's eyes shone with a strange light, a blend of human warmth and Zalari energy. It was a sign of something new, something unexpected. Some of the queen's guards whispered among themselves. The return of the princess with a human was unheard of and thinkable in many eyes. But the queen only saw what mattered most. Her daughter was alive. She had returned with a family forged in love and survival. "Come with me, queen," Viria said, her voice steady. "We must return to Gilaris. There are many questions to answer and a future to decide." As they boarded the ship together, Jira looked back at the desert world she had called home. She knew her life was about to change forever. Back on Gilaris, the people watched the sky as the queen's ship returned. Rumors spread quickly. Some were hopeful, some fearful. The empire was at a crossroads, and everything would change because of one family in the quiet halls of the palace. Queen Vera stood before her council, her daughter by her side, and the human standing tall. The future was uncertain, but the past had come alive again. Jera's return was more than a reunion. It was a chance to heal old wounds and build something new. And the war, with all its pain and loss, was only the beginning of their story.